Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World Daily with me, John Jordan. So interesting, kind of slightly lateral news today, but kind of worth digging into because I think it's something we're going to see a lot of in the future. So this is from a Medium post. This is Marguerite deCourcelle, who is the CEO of Blockade Games, the developer behind quite a few games, but I guess the main one is Neon District. They've also working on Plasma Bears, also heavily involved in Metaboss. And this is from her article, Why I Turned Myself into an NFT. So we have seen this kind of previously. There's a few people who have messed around with kind of turning themselves into, or not necessarily turning themselves into NFTs, but using blockchain in different ways. So we've seen some American sports stars tokenizing their future earnings. So basically they say, I think I'm going to earn this amount of money in future, tens of millions of dollars maybe, and I'll split that into, I don't know, 10 or 100 kind of shares, and how much will you pay me now for those shares? And obviously people can do calculations based on cash flow. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So that's kind of interesting. That's more financial, and some other people have done, again, kind of ways of kind of raising money now and kind of betting against future prospects in a bit more of an uncertain way. So they haven't got kind of contracts for how much they're going to earn, but they wanted some money now to kind of one guy who wanted to move cities, I think, in America, and that's going to cost him money. So he kind of like raised that money by creating an NFT based on his future earnings. So Marguerite is doing something slightly different, but it's kind of worth having a quick look. So, I mean, before Marguerite got involved in games, she was coin artist, so she's a kind of fine artist, and she got involved in blockchain, and she started making these kind of paintings that were puzzles, and they had the private key of a wallet with Bitcoin in it. So that's kind of an interesting thing she started doing. That's how she kind of ended up in the games industry. So what's she going to do? So she is going to create a syndicate called Coins Eden. She's going to be the boss. And the syndicate is going to be a group of individuals or organizations who combine to promote some kind of a common interest, which obviously she as the boss is kind of going to be in charge of. So this is Marguerite, a bit of background about her. So one of the interesting things you can do with this syndicate is they are going to be the first syndicate in Neon District. So Neon District is a kind of an RPG game based on the Ethereum blockchain with a lot of NFTs in it. It's kind of going through a bit of a difficult development cycle, I think, at the moment, but it's being kind of used for a lot of interesting ideas, at least. We'll have to see what happens when the game, when it is released. I don't know when that is. Last I heard was the summer, but I don't think it's going to be in the summer now. This syndicate, what is it going to be? It's going to be like in some degree, a closed social network, cooperative for gaming, a shared brand. I guess with one of these things is it's kind of hard to know what it's going to be. It's going to be, it's obviously based around Neon District to some degree, but it's more broadly based around Marguerite's character. She's, I guess, pretty well known in the crypto space, very active on Twitter. Is a bit of a force of nature, really. So you're in a sense kind of like making a bet on what she's going to get up to in future. And I guess one of the things, this is not necessarily a financially driven kind of NFT project, but you become part of the trusted community with lots of other people from the blockchain game space who I'm sure will get involved in this experiment. It also makes sense because we've seen over the years, influencers become very important in the general game space. So as many years now, Twitch has been around. And we've seen the rise of people like Ninja and the value that they can generate by having these very large audiences that they can bring to new games. And even on a lower level, obviously blockchain stuff's pretty niche at the moment, but just the way blockchain works is slightly different. But you can have some very high value influencers who didn't necessarily have large audiences, but they influenced the right people. So from that point of view, the way you're bringing value to influencers now with things like rare tradable avatar skins, yeah, that could definitely you could definitely see, or it'd be hard to see that not happening really. So Marguerite, in that sense, is kind of tokenizing herself as not only a kind of game developer, but also a kind of influencer in the broader kind of game, blockchain game space, I suppose. So that's would seem to kind of make sense, I guess, for me. So, and I guess what's interesting is she's going to fractionalize her NFT into, so NFT just means non-fungible token. It is she's going to create an NFT that will be effectively a representation, not necessarily visual, but a representation of her. And then she's going to take that NFT and fractionalize it, break it down into kind of smaller tokens. So these can be ERC20 tokens, just like a normal fungible token, like BAT or DAI or anything on Ethereum, and those can be bought and sold. So you have this interesting situation where she creates an NFT, then makes it something that can be traded. So obviously this will have a value attached to it at the beginning, but then the value of these might go up or down depending on whether people like what Marguerite's doing. And we kind of this one of the reasons she's saying she's doing an NFT is because there's metadata attached to it. So an NFT is more interesting in terms of what it can do in future than just a token. A token is kind of just like a kind of dumb bit of blockchain data. We have this idea of yield farming that people are doing at the moment in the DeFi space, and it is interesting. We have an ERC20 token, how those can be used. We will wait and see. I mean, this is obviously still very early stages. But broadly, she's saying by owning a shard of her coin artist, one can gain access to a closed network with a gamified tier structure. So as well as having access to potentially Marguerite, and what Marguerite thinks, the people who own shares of Marguerite will probably be pretty important in the blockchain game space. So that might be valuable for certain people who want to get access to them. And then you can have participants can buy more shards and then become more powerful. So I don't know how many shards Marguerite is going to own. I don't know how many shards she's going to do. I don't think so. I think this is kind of we wait and see. So this is the time frame. Discord in July, early access September, early access to Neon District is the game. And this is all going to happen through the Niftex exchange, where anyone can take a high value NFT and break it into ERC20 tokens that can be traded. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so here we go. So we have 347,000 tokens. So you only need 50,000 to become a boss. But what's the pricing going to be? Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? People who own a Neon District trophy or a God Key will get some of these coins anyway. So yeah, interesting. There are a lot of moving parts on this. There's a lot of moving parts means a lot of way things can not necessarily go wrong. I think it can go wrong, but can go can kind of not necessarily go in the direction people want it to go. There's a broad vision of where it could go. Obviously, Marguerite and even the people who own these coins are not necessarily in control of that. There could be lots of unforeseen circumstances, I guess. Maybe that's the fun of it. But it's definitely worth kind of checking out. I think these kind of experiments do, whether they work or whether they don't work. That's the kind of point of experiments. Even failed experiments, you gain something interesting from finding out kind of why they failed and how they failed, and maybe doing it better next time. So I think it's definitely the kind of experimentation we want to see more of. And it kind of is nice that it's coming from someone who is, I think Blockade Games, while you couldn't say the most successful blockchain game developer in terms of actually kind of putting out product or kind of doing big. I mean, it has done a fairly big NFT sale, but it's taking a very different route, and that's partly because they're a very kind of decentralized kind of grouping. They're a bit of an ad hoc grouping. Marguerite is very much the boss of them, and I think she's kind of taking that kind of idea and trying to expand it even further. So good luck to her for that. Thanks for watching the video. This is Blockchain Gaming World Daily, where we try and make sense of the kind of the news cycle in the increasingly dynamic and confusing sometimes blockchain game space. So do subscribe if you like that sort of stuff. But thanks for watching this one, and hope to see you again soon.